Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are previewing the main card of UFC 175, the July 4th weekend card right now with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com. And Nick Kalikas, of course, is a consultant for numerous sports books, and he opens MMA lines. And also joining us on the phone, MMA analyst from MMAOddsBreaker.com as well, is Adam Martin. All right, guys, Matt Mitrione and Stefan Struve. And this is an interesting fight. Now, of course, Struve is coming back from his heart issue, right? He's been out of the ring for more than a year, and his heart issue was just discovered after his last fight, and supposedly it's fixed now. The doctors have cleared him to fight. And when I was analyzing this fight, I was thinking, if Struve's heart is not a problem here, you got to give him a big edge over Matt Mitrione. And when I was analyzing this fight on Friday, Saturday, it was Struve minus 175. I thought, man, that's a good bet. Now it's all the way up to minus 210 at 5 times. Matt Mitrione plus 160. At these odds, I still think Struve is a good bet at minus 210. Adam Martin, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a really good fight. Let me just say that. I'm really curious to see how Stefan looks in his return fight here. He hasn't fought since March of last year. He fought Mark Hunt. He got knocked out in that fight, brutal knockout.
Right,
He broke his jaw in the fight. I mean, it was a brutal knockout. And that's the thing about Struve. Like, he's a really good fighter. His submissions are ridiculous. Like, for a big guy, especially, he's almost 7 feet tall. He's growing. He's only 26. He's had like 12 fights in the UFC. He's really young and he's improving. But man, he's been knocked out so many times, and it's just. A guy like Matt Mitrione hits so hard. It's really hard to lay juice against him in this fight, I think, especially with, like you said, Peter, coming back from that heart problem. He hasn't fought in 16 months, I think, something like that. So it's a long time. It's a really long time. At the same time, though, I do favor him in this fight, of course, because I think that he should be able to get that submission. Matt Mitrione, he got submitted in his 2 fights ago by Brendan Schaub. Really disappointing to me, actually. And, go back to the fight with Kimbo Slice. He was taken down by Kimbo. Kimbo is not a good wrestler at all. Struve, he's not a great wrestler either, but he's much better than Kimbo, of course. And not only that, but he has the ability to pull guard. So he could pull guard here and grab a triangle, grab an armbar. I think as long as he's healthy, he should win this fight. But like I said, I can't lay the juice on him coming off that long layoff. And also with that chin, I mean, he's taking so much punishment. And you never know when he gets hit. If you can go down, Matt Mitrione hits really hard. He's a huge dude.
Sure.
People are going to talk about the reach in this fight. Matt Mitrione's a massive reach too. It's over 80 inches, so it's only a few inches shorter than Struve. Struve obviously is taller, but Matt's a big guy. He's about, I think, 6'5", and he's got like an 81-inch reach. He's huge. So you never know. I'm going to lean towards Struve here, but I'm not betting this fight. I do kind of lean the under though. I think under 1.5. It's 180. I think that's the way to go here, but I'm not betting it at all. I think it's just. It can go either way as far as the two fighters go, but I do lean towards the under because I think there's going to be a finish in this fight. I don't see it going too far.
All right, yeah, I was thinking about the under as well. There's some people who are actually labeling this fight as a quote-unquote gimme for Struve just because Mitrione, he's 35, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. He's just the kind of guy who, beats up on sort of like schmoes when he's faced up against him. But when he goes up against, like top 10 heavyweights or fringe top 10 heavyweights, top 20 heavyweights, which is what Struve is, he seems outmatched and doesn't have the skills to compete. But you wouldn't label this fight a gimme for Struve, would you?
No, of course not. I think that Matt's, got devastating knockout power in his hands.
Right.
He's a capable striker. And you look at the fight with Roy Nelson. I know he did get knocked out in that fight, but he showed some nice striking in that fight. He trains with a good camp at the Black Stallion, so he's improving. But I just think that Struve, like you said, the age difference, he's about 10 years younger. I think that he's going to be a little bit fresher in this fight. I think he should win it, but you never know. Because his chin, he hasn't held up before, and Matt Mitrione, it's very hard. So we'll see what happens.
Well, Nick Kalikas, obviously the books have been taking action on Struve, right? That's what's been driving this line up?
Yep. Yes, sir. I opened it actually minus 140, so
wow.
That wasn't the greatest line for me to open there, obviously. But, I took a lot of things in consideration, and one of them is that obviously Mitrione has a lot of knockout power, and obviously Struve's chin has been tested before. It hasn't passed the test amongst other things, but I mean, he did look okay before he got knocked out against Hunt. He took some shots there and he was just fine. So it's kind of weird with Struve's chin. Maybe it's not as bad as we all think, but at the same time, when he gets beat, it's by devastating knockout.
Yeah.
So Mitrione has enough power to put him on his back and knock him out cold. But that being said, the other main factor, of course, in opening the line a little bit lower was Struve's time off. I mean, I'm expecting him to come in and be okay overall in shape, but there is that cage rust factor, no doubt about it, that you have to consider there. So I don't think this is a good fight. I mean, you're fighting a guy that has a ton of knockout power, and at the same time, you've been off for so long. Even though Struve has way more advantages in this fight overall, I mean, the grappling we can't even consider. This is a huge mismatch if it hits the ground. And like Adam said, even though Struve doesn't have outstanding wrestling, he's more than capable of getting the fight to the ground in most cases. So Mitrione has been put on his back before. Struve can definitely get it to the ground. If he does, Mitrione's probably going to be in trouble and probably get submitted fairly quick. But if Mitrione can kind of withstand and fend him off a little bit and leave it on the feet, I think Mitrione's going to probably find his spots and have some success as well. Now, it wouldn't shock me if Struve lands some punches and maybe knocks out Mitrione either, because Struve is a very talented striker.
Sure.
And again, he's just a better pure fighter. So I do expect Struve to come away with a victory. But as far as a bet goes, again, you're going to lay 2-1 right now over a guy that can knock you out, and if you've been out for a couple years. I don't think that's a smart bet, considering there's so many fights that the UFC is holding this year. So for me, I would look other places to probably bet on this card, or you take the dog.
All right. Well, I mean, what about this? And I'm not a doctor, to put it mildly, but reading about Struve's heart condition, it seems like it was affecting him before it was discovered and diagnosed, and now I think that from what I've been reading, they fixed it. So maybe he'll come back and have a lot more stamina, a lot more precision. He won't get tired out. He won't be as inconsistent. Maybe he'll come back and not only be as good as he was before, but significantly better.
There's a possibility. You can't count that out. I mean, I'm glad to hear it. If Struve is a better version of himself, watch out heavyweights, because the guy's so talented. Right. He's got that length that a lot of people can't deal with to begin with, and you put the skill set that he's got. I mean, he's honestly a contender if his chin holds up and he starts to fight a little bit better than he was, no doubt. He's so young still. He's got several advantages. So yeah, I would like to see that, and that is a possibility, no doubt about it.
Adam Martin, what do you think about that? I mean, kind of a lot. The people who knocked Struve out were not slouches, so maybe it wasn't his chin, maybe it was more just his defense, and maybe the heart condition had something to do with it, and he'll be more consistent and more durable and have more stamina now.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I don't think his chin is as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. At the same time, it is a question mark, because he has been knocked out 5 times in his career, actually, 4 times in the UFC. But like you said, Peter, look at the guys knocked him out. Mark Hunt, devastating knockout puncher. Travis Brown, another monster. Roy Nelson, I mean, what do we have to say about him? He knocks out everyone. And Junior Dos Santos, he knocks out everyone too. So those guys aren't bad. And you know what? You look at his record, 9-4 in the UFC. He's only 26 years old. Like, that's a very impressive record. His last win came over Stipe Miocic. Stipe Miocic right now, he's a title contender. So that was Struve's last win. I mean, that was a great win for him. As long as he can do the same thing he did against Miocic, against Mitrione, he should win this fight. But like I said, I just think the layoff is a really big concern. I'm kind of with Nick here. I think that there's a card every weekend. You don't have to lay 2-1 on this fight. I think this is a pass, but I do kind of lean under. Nick, what were your thoughts on the under, Nick?
Yeah, it's probably going to hit. I think I don't expect it to go the cards, honestly, because I mean, there's just too much defensive flaws, I think, on both sides. You count Struve's chin factor in with as hard as Mitrione hits, and both these guys do tend to fade a little bit as the fight goes on. Not bad though. And then you count the ground game. If Struve does get it to the floor at all, it's probably going to end fairly quick, because Mitrione's not going to be able to hang with him there. So yeah, right. Honestly, I'm not a fan of unders. Adam knows that. We've talked about it several times. But at the same time, I mean, I do see the under, like we discussed earlier, in the Machida fight is possible, and I think this one as well, because there's just offensively both guys are so talented, and defensively they're both so flawed. So it could probably go under.
Yeah, it is a little bit tough though. Under 1.5 rounds, and that's minus 180. So you're playing, pretty big juice for a low total there. All right, Adam Martin. So you're officially going to pass in terms of a bet, but what would you say your best lean would be on this fight? Would it be the under?
Yeah, it would be. Or when the odds open up for the props, the fight doesn't go the distance. I definitely don't see this fight going 3 rounds. There's no way this fight's going 3 rounds. So that might be I'm assuming that's going to be about minus 300 or so. I think that might be good for a parlay. Obviously, the limit's going to be lower because it's a prop, but I think that's the best bet in this fight. The fight does not go the distance, but again, there's no line open right now, but I think when it does open, it'll be worth a shot in the parlay.
All right. I think I'm going to stick with my pick of Struve at minus 210, even though I understand the risks, and that is it's not huge juice though, but it's pretty much up there. So Nick, the books are probably going to need Mitrione here.
Yeah, I think so. I think the majority of the public and support will still come in on Struve. Might get some late action in on Mitrione, and the drop we could see the line drop to below 2-1 though. So if you're a Struve backer, maybe you wait till fight day and see what happens with the action, because I think you might be able to get a better spot, because there will be some people just banking on Mitrione's power over Struve's chin as well. I guarantee that. But again, it's a tough one, because we could see the line escalate to over 3-1 because of just the pure skill set of Stefan Struve. So yeah, it's a tough one.